Probando, 1, 2, 1, 2. Probando, 1, 2. Prueba de audio, 1, 2. Probando.
I've been through all the highs and lows, and I've seen it all from time ago.
Bueno, 1, 2, 1, 2, pruebas de audio, 1, 1, 2, 2.
See yourself out, time to go.
Prueba de audio, 1, 2, 1, 2, prueba de audio, 1, 2.
Buenos días, pruebas de audio, 1, 2, 3. Estamos a punto de iniciar con la conferencia del día de hoy.
sol de la esperanza, como tus ojos, pura pasión y amor. Yo lo siento y tú lo sientes, energía baby. We walked through chaos that night, but here we are, standing on the other side. I had your words drilled in my mind, told you I'd never cross that line. So hold me tonight, never let me go. Can I call you mine, or am I all alone? Hiding your feelings, but I know I can't be dreaming. So hold me tonight, never let me go. We walked through chaos that night, throwing knives I never thought we'd fight, screaming at the top of my lungs. It was enough to come undone, but now we're back again as one. So hold me tonight, never let me go. Can I call you mine, or am I all alone? Hiding your feelings, but I know I can't be dreaming. So hold me tonight, never let me go. So hold me tonight, never let me go. So hold me tonight, never let me go. Saying what's in my head, filling my mind with these images, yeah. And it's the way that you look at me, makes me feel like I can't breathe. It ain't right.
Bueno, bueno.
Calling my phone, I'm being patient, but I'm all alone. Staying faithful and I'll never know when you're coming back around. When you're coming back around. When you're coming back around.
Bueno, bueno. 1, 2, 3. Probando. 1, 2, 3.
Bueno, bueno.
Buenos días, segunda llamada, segunda llamada. Buenos días. Previo a dar inicio con nuestro evento de ciclo de conferencias de investigación y posgrado, les pedimos su atención para escuchar las medidas de seguridad del auditorio de la Facultad de Ciencias Químicas e Ingeniería.
Medidas de seguridad para el auditorio de la Facultad de Ciencias Químicas e Ingeniería. La Facultad de Ciencias Químicas e Ingeniería, dependiente de la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Morelos, les da la más cordial bienvenida. Antes de iniciar el evento, solicitamos ponga mucha atención a las siguientes recomendaciones de seguridad. Usted se encuentra en el auditorio. Favor de no colocar objetos en los pasillos que obstaculicen su evacuación. Las rutas son las siguientes. 2 salidas de emergencia ubicadas en la parte frontal del auditorio del lado derecho e izquierdo, por las cuales podrán salir los que se ubican en los asientos de la primera a la segunda columna. También cuenta con 2 salidas naturales por las que usted ingresó. Por ahí podrán salir los que se ubican de la segunda a la tercera columna, tomando la salida natural al lado que esté sentado. El punto de reunión del auditorio se ubica en la parte frontal de estas instalaciones, a un costado de la entrada principal y las escaleras. El punto de reunión para la salida de emergencia frontal del lado derecho está ubicado en la explanada central. Ante cualquier emergencia, la recomendación es: no corro, no empujo, no grito y guardo la calma. La facultad cuenta con brigadas de seguridad y evacuación que durante una emergencia le informarán y apoyarán para salvaguardar su integridad, así como los servicios institucionales de servicio médico, enfermería, paramédico y ambulancia. Por su atención, gracias.
Muy buenos días a todos los presentes, autoridades educativas, estudiantes y público en general. A nombre de la doctora Viridiana Aide León Hernández, directora de la Facultad de Ciencias Químicas e Ingeniería, dependiente de la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Morelos, les damos la más cordial bienvenida a este evento significativo. Para dar inicio con nuestro programa, me voy a permitir presentar a las autoridades que nos acompañan. La secretaria de Investigación y Posgrado, la doctora María del Carmen Torres Salazar. La jefa de Planeación, la doctora Silvia Mendoza Vergara. Asimismo, damos la bienvenida al maestro Jesús Vázquez Bustos, presidente del capítulo de comunicaciones de IEEE ComSoc de la sección Morelos. También damos la bienvenida a Carlos Felipe García Hernández, expresidente del capítulo de comunicaciones de la sección Morelos de IEEE. En estos momentos hace uso de la palabra la doctora María del Carmen Torres, secretaria de Investigación y Posgrado de la FSQI, quien nos dirigirá un breve mensaje.
Buenos días a todos. Pues la primera cosa es muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros todos, especialmente a la doctora Nogueira, que a través de los capítulos de el área de IEEE está con nosotros. Agradecemos mucho su participación y en nombre de la doctora Viridiana Aide León Hernández, directora de nuestra facultad, pues les damos la bienvenida tanto a ustedes estudiantes que están con nosotros y que son la razón de ser de nuestra facultad, y a la doctora que muy amablemente solicitó y atendió la invitación que le hizo la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Morelos para estar con nosotros esta mañana a través de 2 conferencias que se van a dar. Una del área técnica sobre ciberseguridad y otra sobre la experiencia que la doctora ha tenido para formar parte del área científica, siendo una mujer y haciendo una analogía con lo que ella hace también en el área del deporte. Entonces, agradecemos mucho que estén ahora y esperamos que también nos puedan acompañar en la conferencia que inicia a las 12 del día también. Entonces, es para todos un gusto recibir a la doctora y a todo el personal que viene con ella también de parte de la IEEE, agradecer las gestiones que hizo el doctor Vera, el doctor Cisneros y todo el capítulo aquí También veo por aquí algunos de nuestros investigadores, lo que les agradezco el apoyo y el estar con nosotros esta mañana. Pues muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos todos.
Muchas gracias, doctora Torres. Para dar inicio a nuestro programa, le damos la más cordial bienvenida a la doctora Michele Nogueira, que nos presentará la presentación Ciencia de Datos para Ciberseguridad, una visión general enfocada en las redes. Por favor, si nos acompaña al presidium, por favor. Mientras la doctora nos acompaña, nos hace el favor, voy a leer una breve reseña. Es profesora asociada en el Departamento de Ciencias de la Computación de la Universidad Federal de Minas Gerais de Brasil. Recibió su doctorado en Ciencias de la Computación de la Universidad Pierre et Marie Curie en Francia. Y ella se encontró de licencia sabática en la Universidad de Carnegie Mellon en Estados Unidos del 2016 al 2017. Sus intereses de investigación incluyen redes inalámbricas, seguridad de redes y fiabilidad, y ella ha trabajado en proporcionar resiliencia a las redes autoorganizadas, cognitivas e inalámbricas mediante enfoques adaptativos y oportunistas, y hoy en día su investigación se centra en la creación de inteligencia de seguridad de red respaldada por la ciencia de los datos. La doctora Nogueira fue una de las pioneras en abordar los problemas de supervivencia en las redes inalámbricas autoorganizadas, siendo la obra una encuesta de supervivencia en las redes de anuncios móviles, una de sus destacadas contribuciones científicas. Ha sido ganadora de becas académicas del gobierno de Brasil en sus años de pregrado y posgrado, y subvenciones internacionales como el programa ASM del SIGCOMP, Geodiversidad, y se desempeñó como editora técnica asociada para la revista de comunicaciones de IEEE. Se desempeñó también como presidenta del Comité Técnico de Internet de IEEE COMSOC, y ella es miembro principal de ACM y IEEE. Damos la bienvenida. Muchas gracias, doctora Nogueira.
Muchas gracias, buenos días, es un placer estar aquí. Yo voy a cambiar a inglés porque mi español no es muy fluente, pero tal vez en 2 años o 1 año, quizá. Okay, so my presentation today will be regarding to my research in the research in my research team. If I stay here, I think you can listen, right? If not, I will be hired. So I will talk about a little bit some innovative and very top in terms of cutting edge research that we have in this domain for cybersecurity. I will be very basic in some parts because I understand here we have many students and maybe you have not taken some network or cybersecurity course. So I will try to explain some basic concepts that we have, but maybe in certain parts I will be a little bit high level because the slides have been prepared a little bit in that way. Yeah, good. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can pass. Yeah, next. I like to put my research and my presentations in a very context perspective because I think it's important to understand why we are here right now and with all this challenge in terms of research. And in this slide, I put this evolution regarding to the 4th industrial revolution. If we look back for the first one and all the difficulties that we had to prepare and produce products in general, in this first one we had involvements in terms of mechanization based on, of course, mechanic engineering, like water power or steam power, that make us to produce faster and higher, in a higher quantity regarding to what we had in the past, like manual things. We now could rely on some advances regarding to mechanical engineering to make produce more. These have been involved. This was the first revolution. In the second revolution, then we can say all the massive production that started to be. For sure you have heard about Ford, that have all the assembly line and how to produce more and faster. And this is called the second industrial revolution, based here in electricity. So here was mechanic, here we had the electricity, and this, of course, together with this management and administration techniques, new techniques, could bring us a higher number of products in the market, or assemble them and produce more and more. So this is the second industrial revolution. And the third one comes to the computer and automation. And this is more or less where we are. We are passing this third industrial revolution to the fourth one. In this one, we have computers, we have the use of how to automatize all the things in our life in order to be better, to maybe more comfortable, but of course also produce more and more. So this is always the idea behind this industrial revolution, to how to increase the performance of how we produce things. And of course here in the third one, this made also our life better, because now many of us can work from home. Basically, from the pandemic, this increased or accelerated this change in our life. So we can be more comfortable working from home and taking care of children, and make our things of the day by day, and have more flexibility to define what time could we work. Of course, this is advancing, and the idea is to achieve what we call fourth industrial revolution, where everything will be connected. We call this the cyber-physical system, where we will have integrated, like in the materials that we build houses, for instance, they will be integrated on the material that we use, like the bricks, or they can have small or nano sensors. They will be integrated to send us data like temperature, or even how the things are expanding, and things like that would happen in the future. So this is the imagination, the idea that we have from the fourth industrial revolution. And this is not so distant, or not so far, if we think better, because now we already have ubiquitously, or not exactly how, the way that we think for the fourth industrial one, but we already started to have. We also believe that this fourth industrial revolution will bring us some mobile supercomputing. So we'll have or use all the devices that we have in hand or everywhere, and they will be used to help in the data processing that we will generate. And of course, from the other side, we will generate more and more data. This is already happening, or is starting to happen. Self-driving cars, neurotechnological brain enhancement. So we will have ways to make faster our way to think. Generic editing, this is also starting to have. So these are all the evidence that things are changing from this third industrial one to the fourth industrial revolution. So this is what we think for the future. And one specific characteristic that we have in this aspect is what we call exponential thinking. And things are going and accelerated so fast. I'm sure many of you have already the idea, oh my God, this was yesterday, but seems like 1 year ago that happened. So much thing happened, so many things happened in a very small time scale that we just lose what is going on. And this is not so only on our day or in our life, but also in things that is really going on. And this is called exponential thinking. Things are going very fast. Things are very accelerated. because of the things that we have. I mean, with this revolution, we started to have many, many things to deal with, to address, and of course, many data that is generated with that. So this is in one side, this is good, but also this brings some difficulties for the systems that we are dealing with. So we can pass, please. Next one. Here I put some examples, just as I mentioned, so autonomous car, augmented reality, industry 4.0. Next one. And some other examples, smart homes, smart cities, smart farms. So those are examples of things going to this cyber physical system idea. Next one, please. So now putting on the perspective of the internet, you can, next. We have, for the internet, we have this ubiquitous, that is, we use the internet every time now. So this is almost transparent for our lives. We have different smart devices connected, more and more. One thing here that I want to emphasize is the aspect of diversity in terms of not only the heterogeneity in terms of devices included in the internet, but also the capacity they have. So we can go from one smartwatch, as I put there, that it has a very limited resource inside, like processing, memory, but also we can have in the same internet like supercomputers connected. So we can go from one extreme to another one. And this, of course, this is the way we are doing and the things that are connected. But also when we start to look for the cybersecurity, this is very difficult to manage because we have no reference or kind of solution we should put in place depending on the environment where we are. So this is one aspect that I want you to just keep to save for a few minutes. I will come back to this point. And the last one is the big data that we generate. So more and more we generate data. We have data from everywhere, for every context, for different situations that we have. Here I put an example regarding to temperature, to water level, things like pollution or noise violation, for instance. So we can collect all this kind of data. Of course, this is a very small example, but we can think about many different data that we have today. Yeah, you can go ahead, please. And now I will switch a little bit for cybersecurity. And all of these things that I just mentioned to you, those are the context that we have. So this is the reality that we have. We have all these devices connected. We have this market or this idea to go to the fourth industrial revolution. We have all this data generated. But when we analyze the cybersecurity side, what is the impact that we have of all of this happening with cybersecurity? What is the relation between what I just told to you and the cybersecurity? And one point that I told to you regarding to exponential thinking can be just observed how the attackers have used the idea to evolve or to increase their performance. Yeah, you can go ahead for the next slide. This is an example of one attack that happened in 2016. This attack was very basic attack. This was a DDoS attack. I don't know if everyone knows what is this kind of attack. It's a distributed denial of service. A distributed denial of service will target to make a server or a service unavailable. That means you have, let's assume that you have a web page server. This web page server, the attackers will try to put this server down. How they will do that? they will send many packages against this server to make it unavailable. So this is the main idea. Of course, I put here an example of the server, one machine that has limited resources. Things are very much more complex than that in our reality today. This example that I just gave to you maybe was the case in 20 years ago, but the servers now have many or too much capacity. That is, the amount of packages generated and sent against the target should be very high. It's not like it was before. And in this specific example that I'm giving to you, the server, instead of web server, was a name server. What does a name server? It will translate a name to an IP address. I'm sure everyone knows what is an IP address, and also a name server is how to map. Because if I take, for instance, www.google.com, this is a name, and the machines cannot work with the names. We need to translate to an IP address. And the DYNE server does exactly this service. Will map, it will translate names to IP address. And for who they do that? For many companies. So this is a service provided, paid by many companies like Spotify, PlayStation, Nintendo. Many companies do use the DYNE. DYNE is the name of the company, and this company offer these services for these other companies. So what this attack did? Very overloaded, so overloaded the service, the server, the DYNE server, and all these other companies could not get the requests from the people, from the legitimate users, because the name could not be translated. So when, for instance, I, at my home, wanted to access Spotify to listen something, I could not, because my application in my computer used the name, and when was requested the translation in the DYNE server was overloaded and could not translate to IP address. So I could not get my music because the server was overloaded. Sure, here in listen music is not so critical, but imagine how much Amazon or PayPal have just lost because of this attack. This attack lasts for 8 hours. So the administration, the managers was trying to solve the problem because the attack was very high against them. And they spent like 8 hours to put the service in place again. This is one thing, how much they have lost, those companies have lost. Another thing is reputation. So for sure, if I'm telling you that DYNE received a kind of attack, if you could choose which company to hire to make this kind of service, I'm sure you should think about 2 or 3 times before if you could hire or would hire DYNE to do the service for your company. So reputation is something that could not really be repaired so easily, and this is the main point that attackers do. Make the reputation very bad, and people to repair this is very hard. And in some cases, we cannot do make or repair it 100%. So this attack was very symbolic also because the servers, the DYNE servers, was at the cloud. And you know that the cloud computing has too much resources. It's not like one only server that is there and we can just start to overload and then one machine can overload it. We need many, many, many devices around the world to create this huge amount of traffic to compromise DYNE server. And this is what exactly happened. Why this is emblematic? Because at the time, nobody thought that we could generate this amount of traffic against a target to compromise it. And was a landmark, I mean, because happened. And another thing was that 1 month later, we had another attack that doubled the volume of the traffic of this attack happened. So what is my point? My point is that the exponential thinking that I just told to you also happens in cybersecurity and in the bad side. And we need to rethink about all the solutions that we have, because we need to deal with these different ways to think. And the way to think now is very fast, because as we have many data to address and to be benefit for our systems, the bad side also have. They also have access to the data, and they can use that to make attacks more powerful, more sophisticated. And this is just an example of that. Again, this happened in 2016. You can pass. It took very basic idea to infect the different nodes around the world. Like they took these cameras connected to the internet. They took baby monitors that we just buy and connect to the internet. They took TVs connected to the internet. So very basic things in our home was participating in this attack. And we didn't know that these devices were infected and were participating in this DDoS attack. Yeah, you can pass. Yeah. So this is a map where all the region on in the United States where have been compromised by this attack. You can see the main areas, right? There and here, all the California part, and those are where the big companies are. Yeah, you can pass this. But you can say, okay, this happened in 2016, and it's all, we had this example, and 1 month later, another example that exploited similar thing and put GitHub down. But this happened anymore. No, it's not true, because it happened. Like I put here some more recent examples of DDoS attacks that happened in 2021, and always the volume, the traffic volume is even higher and higher. 2021, 2021, 2022. So those are very recent examples of this problem, and we need to see or to create solutions to how to deal with that. Yeah, you can pass. So how the DDoS attack happens, or how it's produced? This attack, it's based on different other attacks that can happen very in a small scale, but in the end, the attacker will have a big network that is called botnet. And this big network of infected devices will create or generate the malicious traffic against the server. And how they compromise? Well, smart TVs, for instance, they can compromise passwords, easy passwords, or emails, or they can have access to financial data and understand the behavior. So smart TVs, Wi-Fi routers, they can collect data here and login info, emails, message that comes in our home. You know, we have Wi-Fi routers inside our home too. Not only in the home, but I'm taking this example because it's closer to us. Voice assistant, so we also can have, is very vulnerable to that. Connected cars have many vulnerabilities in this sense. Smart security cameras, Like they can also have access to private video recordings, the location they are. So every information here helps the attackers to produce or to prepare the DDoS attack. And here at the end, the medical and fitness devices. So all this and how they compromise those devices. For instance, we take a device, buy it, and just connect at home without changing password. Standard password, just the password that came from the market. Many, after they investigated what happened with this attack that I just mentioned to you, and many devices that was infected to this dying attack was because they were using passwords that came from the market. You know that these devices needs to have the administration password, and these administration passwords are in the manual. Anyone knows. And what the attacker did, they checked the manual and they saw that someone was using this model, this year, fabricated, made in this year, and so they used the password. They have a very big list mapping the passwords and the devices model. So they didn't need to make so much effort in that sense. They just, oh, okay, use this password. Someone that just bought and connected, okay, I will infect it. If not, I just leave. I will find others that will have, I can access very easily. And so this is what happened. Yeah, you can pass. Just before passing to this, another way is phishing, right? Sent by spams, and we can just open the email and then we will infect the device also. And these devices infected will participate in this big network of infected devices. This network, we call it, as I mentioned before, botnet. Botnet, why? Because it's a network of robots. Robots means that devices infected by a malware. You know that we have different kind of malwares. This will depend on the attack vector. Attack vector is the means used by the attacker to compromise the device or the network. Or in another word, what are the means that the attacker use to make the attack? So these botnets are networks of infected devices. And this is not new. I mean, we had these botnets, conventional botnets, from so long. Conventional botnets, I'm calling those that use desktops or devices inside a place to, infected, of course, to create an attack. But now we can a different kind of botnet that I call mobile botnet. And this mobile botnet is composed by IoT devices. IoT means Internet of Things. You can pass, yeah, next one. And these mobile botnets have three main differences regarding to the conventional ones. And those three differences make the mobile botnet very challenging to address, to manage. Because one of these characteristics is diversity. Diversity in terms of the devices we use. Remember in the beginning that I told you to keep that information? We have different devices connected with different technologies, communication technologies. So the attackers will use this aspect of diversity because will make harder to detect those attacks. To detect that we have a bot inside your network, because it's difficult. Given the differences between the devices, we don't know if it's because those devices are different or because we have a different behavior inside the network. So this is one point. And also another point regarding to diversity is geodiversity. That means that the devices are distributed, spread in all the places of the world. And this was one of the characteristics that happened in the Dawn attack. Attackers, or the bots, could be everywhere. And this also makes very difficult to detect. This is one of the differences of before. We could detect because the attackers come from Brazil, so I knew that comes from Brazil, and I saw the behavior. But now the attack can come from everywhere, and makes very hard to detect. Yeah, you can pass. So this is the first feature, the first characteristic regarding to mobile botnets. You can pass, yeah. The second one is quantity. So in these mobile botnets, the attackers have more devices available to use inside the botnet. So they can recruit more devices inside. They can infect more devices and use for that. You can pass. Again, yeah. Yeah. Please. I put here, we also have a name, a new name for this mobile botnets, or these IoT composed botnets. So yeah, you can pass. And it's called DOT. So the attacks that have been used, that comes from IoT devices. So denial of services generated by IoT devices. We call DOT, denial of services of Internet of Things. And this comes, just see here, how many DDoS attacks we have per day. 3,700 attacks per day. It's huge. And if we check for instance, the cost for the organization in terms of each one of the attacks, or per incident, not just the incidents of the attacks, can vary from 1,400 to $2.35 million US dollars in this case per incident for each organization. So this is huge. And we need to have new ways to address this kind of problem. Yeah, you can pass again. So this is the second feature that make mobile botnet very difficult and very compromising in terms of regarding or comparing to conventional ones. And the last one is mobility. So the conventional botnets we could not take the device and just put in another place and go around with the device. But IoT devices, we can. I just connected my laptop here in the university. If my computer had a malware, could infect all the network. And so this is spread very fast, the malwares that will infect the devices and make them participate in the botnet. So this is another issue. And here in this paper from Infocom 2014, it made a model that just shows that this is very similar what we had with the coronavirus model, spread model. So they are very similar because it's a spread of the virus. So the computer virus is similar to what we saw in terms of the coronavirus or any other virus, because they are very similar in terms of spread, changing the parameters. So this is the side of the attacker, and what we can do, how we are managing that, how are the research in terms of this context that I just gave to you, these problems that I just gave to you, what we can do, how can we think about. And one way that the research is driving is for artificial intelligence, AI. And in this paper from 2017, this is not from a technical paper, it's from Harvard Business Review, but they just had this outlook regarding to the AI, and they put that AI is the future for cybersecurity, for better or for worse. The idea is very interesting because they just push to use AI in cybersecurity, because if we as researchers or professionals in cybersecurity don't use AI, the attackers, they are using AI. They are making the attacks better from their side. So how can we go against that if we don't use? So we are forced to use. So this is the main message of this article. And of course, not only based on because of this article, but the researchers, they are going that direction. So using the artificial intelligence or data science in general to try to manage and to create solutions against these problems. Yeah, you can go ahead for the next one. And we have been working on what we call the creation of security intelligence. So use data, analyze the data, and try to create solutions that are intelligent in terms of not be specific to a certain point in time, but be continuous, or to be dynamic in terms of how to deal with the problems that we have in the present, but also the problems that will evolve. And this is important because the security that we saw in the past, we had in the past, was just based on the present time. I solve the problems now. I use a firewall. I put the roles in the firewall, and it's there. I mean, I'm safe. I'm protected. But today, this is no more the case. Because if we do that, today maybe you are protected, but tomorrow the attackers will already have involved because they have so much resources and will be so fast, the exponential thinking that I told you, will be so fast that that solution of today will not work tomorrow. So we need more continuous or dynamic solutions to deal with that. And this is where comes the security intelligence. Yeah, you can go ahead. And in this process, we are using what we call data science, and for sure you already know. But just to give you an idea, data science is all this method that take the data, process the data, analyze the data, and create some knowledge that new knowledge that can help in the solutions that we are trying to create. And so this is a field, a science field that explores, handles, analyzes data to answer questions and make recommendations. So, of course, the data science will not give us a solution directly to cybersecurity, but will help with new knowledge that maybe with the resources, the computational resources that we had in the past, we could not have this realization, and now we can, because we have more methods, tools, and data to have the new knowledge that we and we can use this knowledge, of course, to create new solutions. Yeah, please. Yeah. Everyone is talking about data science and AI, but what exactly we have new in terms of the science? First of all, nowadays we have more data. I told you that we are generating more and more data. He got into different surface, different space, and this is one point. Before we didn't have data, so how could we input in our methods to create new knowledge if we could not collect the data from our day by day? Now we have this possibility. So this is one point. And another point is that the computational power that we have today is much, much higher than we had in the past. Even if we had the tools in terms of models, in terms of techniques, we could not generate new knowledge because we were limited in terms of data, and we were limited in terms of computational resources to process the data that we could have. Now we have more computational power. We have more processing, more memory. We can store more. We can generate new knowledge that we could not even have thought before. And this is not only happening in cybersecurity. If you go to biology or you go to other areas, we are using data science and producing new knowledge because we have more computational resources about it. So this is the main idea regarding to data science. Yeah, Kurt. Data science also work on with structured data or unstructured data. Structured data are very, for those that already had this this class in databases where we have all this structure and the data is organized, like a library, for instance, you have structured data. This, in the reality, is very difficult to have. For cybersecurity, I would say that all cases that we are working is with unstructured data. Missing data, they don't follow sometimes any organization. We just collect them from different sources, and we need to create this organization before. We need to organize them sometimes to be able to apply the techniques. Of course, cybersecurity, we need to make this this step of data processing fast, because sometimes we don't have so much longer, so we cannot wait so long for the attack to happen. So we need to be very fast to process this. And we work on network flows sometimes, and we need to be almost on online scale in terms of time. So we need to work on unstructured data. We have no time to organize, to put them in a data set or a database, and then have some processing on that. We need to go and work on those unstructured and unbalanced data. Unbalanced is another concept important here, because when we are working on cybersecurity, you will have probably, let's say, 100 days with no attack and 1 day with attack. So this is the idea of unbalanced data. We have too many or too much from one situation and very little from another one. And we need to work with this unbalanced data and detect attacks or predict attacks, etc. Yeah, go ahead. This is the taxonomy in terms of defense lines. We can organize the defense lines in these 3 groups: preventive, reactive, and tolerance. Preventive will come from those that can protect the system, like cryptography, authentication, access control. They will try to protect the system, to not let the attackers come or intrude the system in a certain way. The reactive one will work with the idea that the attack will happen, will be able to access to the system, and we need, with the attack inside the system, we need just to do some methods to stop it or to detect that this attack is inside. Like a virus, I need to detect that it has infected my system to be able to do something to put it down. So the reactive defense will work with this idea. And the main technique used in this group is the intrusion detection system. That is, systems that will detect an intrusion or an attack. And the third one is tolerance, where comes the integration or some intersection between the cybersecurity area and distributed system area, where we use like techniques to tolerate. That means that the attack will be inside the system. We don't know sometimes that they are, or we don't know how to deal with the attack inside our system. And while we find a solution, we need to tolerate the attack or the attack effects in the system until we find a way to stop their effects. So this is the idea of tolerance here. So we will use like techniques as replication, redundancy, content distribution. So those are from the literature. And one aspect that I want to call your attention is that if you want to do some innovative and edging research in this area, one aspect that I should suggest you to go is this one, predictive. Predictive means that we will not, of course, we need to have all these techniques together. Those are important, but to work more and more with all this context that I showed to you, this challenge, we need to try to anticipate the steps of the attack before they compromise the system. We cannot, for instance, let that the flow, the malicious traffic comes to the server. We need to anticipate when a botnet is formed, for instance, or start to prepare an attack. And this is the idea of the researchers in this moment. Try to anticipate, to be one step ahead of the attack, because we don't have time to deal with the volumetric traffic that comes from the attack. If this happens, the administrators just put the system down, wait, or do something, because they will not be able to go against the attack. We need to be able to anticipate. This is the main message of all my talk. So if you go to home with this message, it's enough. Yeah, you can go ahead. So in this sense, we have been working on this idea of anticipating attacks. Here is 2 windows of a data set, where here is a case where the attack was not yet started officially. And this is exactly the point where you see the green line, dashed line, is the point where the attack really started. And you can see this is the flow in the network, so the amount of packages generated against the traffic. And you can see here that in this point, the packages have a very small size, each one of them. And here, when the attack starts, you only see the overload of this size. In this window, there is no attack in the first time, in a first view, but we could see also some peaks saying that maybe the bots were testing or trying or planning something or communicating or trying to see how to make the attack. So these 2 peaks are the main kind of points that we try to identify, and again, before the attack starts. Because when the attack starts, the processing memory of the server will not be able to do anything more. You see there, it's overloaded. So this is the kind of things that we are doing. You can go ahead. We are applying some kind of graph correlation techniques. This is just an example of some kind of networks that we're trying to create. The main idea here is to create this kind of graphs that will map what are the relations between pair of nodes. Like for instance, here you see this edge from the green to the red point is stronger than others. And we try to map these strong correlations between these 2 pairs of nodes. And based on that, we try to map which one of those nodes could be bots inside the network. So this is how we map it for instance, we could say, I want to see who are the top 10 nodes more correlated. And then I will check the IP address and see if something unusual is happening inside the network. So this is one thing that we are trying to do. This research was developed together with Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, in the USA. Based on that research, we have transferred this knowledge to a startup in a program that we have in Brazil. And we have created a tool to companies to use that to anticipate this kind of networks, through botnets inside their networks. Yeah, good. So yeah, you can pass. So this is one example of research that we are doing, and this is another one. This is another example that we have worked. And the main point here in this research is that, okay, we need to, the literature says that we are using AI and we should go to AI. But when we apply AI techniques only, still it comes to that idea that I told you that is fixed. We work today, we know the pattern today, but if the data distribution changes the pattern from today to tomorrow, the model will not work anymore. We need to recalibrate the model to be able to predict or to detect the attacks. And this is not good because of the reasons that I just gave to you along this introduction. So in this work, on this research that we do here, is to try to make or to automatize the application of the AI techniques, or basically, more specifically, the machine learning techniques that we apply. What I mean by automatize, I mean that I want that my system decide what is the best pipeline for the machine learning to use depending on the data distribution, depending on what the system is receiving. So depending on the data distribution, the system will use, for instance, a random forest classifier. But in time two, if the distribution changes, the system needs to change the classifier for another one because that one is better to classify the data. So this is what we did. And you can pass, yes, please. So this is what we did with this work. We created autonomous machine learning detection system for botnets in order to make this more dynamic and more related and applied to what we have in the literature today and the situations that we have. Yeah, you can go ahead. So just to give you an example, those are the techniques that we have been applied: botnet detection, autonomous machine learning, and concept drift detection. So the concept drift detection will analyze the data distribution, and once we have this changing on the pattern, then the system will identify that changing, and then we'll adapt the system to new pipeline of machine learning. So this is the idea, and the system really changed that in an autonomous way. So this, I don't go to each one of these steps, but it's just to give you an idea of how the system works. In the step one, we have the data processing, pre-processing. Second one, drift detection. Third one, pipeline optimization, and the fourth, the classification. In the first one, we receive the network packets, the stream. You know, we are working on network security here in this specific work, and we are based on the packages of the network. We capture this traffic and analyze the flow, and this is what is doing in this step one. Then the system will try to detect drifts. So if we have changes on the pattern that we see, and if there is a pattern, it will optimize the pipeline. Pipeline here is a set of parameters used in the machine learning algorithms. The machine learning algorithm itself that is used, and it will adapt everything to be more matched to, or be better to the set or the pattern of the data that is observed in this step two. And the fourth one is the classification itself, which will use the model to classify the data and see if there is a botnet or not. Yeah, you can pass. I go very briefly. Just here, I put just to let you know what kind of data set that we have used to as input for our evaluations. You can pass. It's just to give you a general view. But the most important thing here is that this result was an experiment one, and we were not using this adaptation with this pipeline. And the most important thing to see here is this botnet precision detection, the yellow points that you see, and they are very low. So the precision is very low in this case. Again, this is a plot in the situation where we didn't automatize the process of machine learning algorithms used to the workflow. So here you can see when have changed, and we have changed in these points, for instance, you see that all the metrics come very low in terms of detection, precision, etc. You can pass, yes. And now we have some results adapting the machine learning pipeline. The bot precision already comes to better results. As you see, the yellow points are higher. Yeah, you can pass. And one thing that made these botnet detection points go up is because you will see in a window you can go. In this window, for instance, we have this set of parameters. So you have parameters to data preprocess, we have the features, we have the classifier. You see here, those are the values of the parameters that we use. Those parameters have been selected by the system because based on the data distribution in this window that you see, this window C here, was the best one. But if we go for the next one, yeah, you can pass. Pass. The parameters have changed because for this new distribution, in this new window, in the window D, the best parameters were the system identified those parameters as the best ones for dash case. And again, if we go to window E, you can just pass, please. Yeah. All the parameters changed again. And one important thing to make you trust that those improvements in terms of bot precision have increased because of changing the parameters is that because here, if you can just come back one, if you see this point here, where we had the change on the data, the results got very bad because the system was was in the time of changing the parameters and changing what they could use as machine learning pipeline. So this is another example of research that we do. You can just pass, yeah, please. All this. All this result is published in this paper, and we have also another paper published with the same improvements of these results and system. If anyone is interested, you can contact me. And again, yeah, please, next. And just to conclude my talk, in this talk, I just talked about the context that we have today and all this, how this affects in terms of cybersecurity. I showed to you specifically for the DOS attack and botnet, but of course these two attacks are results of many others, like malwares, all this cryptography based, how to break this cryptography. So these two are results of those attack vectors. I told you about the advance on research more concentrated on this cybersecurity in the aspect of the DOS attacks. The use of data science, AI, and machine learning. The automation that we are trying to provide for these machine learning algorithms, that is something new in the literature, and some research in progress that we have been doing inside my research team. So this is what I had prepared to you. I'm open to questions, and I thank you so much for your attention on that. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, doctora Nogueira. Y procedemos a la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Por favor, levanten la mano para pasar el micrófono.
Hi, morning. Is Python the recommended programming language for cybersecurity? And
Python? Yeah, well, many of the libraries, I mean the programming libraries that we are using, the majority of them you find in Python, and that makes very easy to apply. So I would say that Python is good for different reasons. We have been working on Python for all the systems that we are building and designing. So I would say that many other researchers are doing the same because of these reasons. I mean, it's easy to use for those that is learning. We have many resources as these programming libraries that is already implemented, for instance, the machine learning classifier and all these things. So this makes easier and faster to use them. So those are the main reasons.
And what is the ethic hacking? Oh, hacking ethic? What is hack ethic? Hacking ethic?
Oh, how is a hacking ethic hacker? Well, it's a controversial thing. My personal opinion is that it's difficult to. There is a line that is very difficult to say what side is ethic and what side is not. So, yeah, this is my opinion. I mean, hacking is hacking for me. It's not this idea of ethic hacking. As I said, this comes to a line that is very difficult to define.
Thanks.
¿Alguien más?
What do you think about the letter that was shared yesterday? Stop development of artificial intelligence 6 months or more. And do you think that we are going too fast, or what is this suggestion?
Say again, maybe if you just remove mask to retain what happened.
What do you think about the letter that was shared yesterday? Stop development of artificial intelligence 6 months or more. Do you think that we are going too fast, or why is this suggestion?
I didn't follow exactly what happened yesterday. I was all day traveling. So, but I suppose that you are talking about leaking, data leaking. This is a very issue that's a very important issue that we need to look at. Because in fact, even with the data that we have that seems not to be sensible, we could extract important information about the day by day of the people by regarding to what they do, and even achieve to or manage to have like passwords that are some kind of sensible information. And with AI, this makes very powerful to filter and extract this kind of information. So this is for both sides. One research that we are doing in my research group is to try to create techniques to obfuscate the data that is coming. So we will transmit some data by the internet, so you need to, before, obfuscate it. Of course, cryptography is a kind of obfuscation, but we have some issues with cryptography. That means the processing time and all these, of course, the resources to have the cryptography put in place is higher. So we need to look for solutions that try to reduce this cost, this computational cost that we have for cryptography. And also today we have other techniques, not only cryptography, that can obfuscate the data. And this is some directions that we are trying to go already, also in this sense. So my, just summarizing, I think it's important we need to look at those things, and we need to look also for unconventional solutions to make this flow of data easy and protected against those kind of leaks that not always is open. I mean, not always you know that you are leaking data. Maybe what you said is something that was in the news, so you know that was leaked. But what about the leakage that is not open? Also, nobody knows that is leaking, but someone is taking some benefit from that. So that we need to be aware of those things.
What is the importance of cybersecurity for engineering students?
I mean, it's very important in terms of the system that you will design. You could not skip that. You need to think about security from the beginning. This is the main point why we have so much vulnerabilities today. Because when we design the systems, we didn't think about security. Or we didn't think because it was not a culture in the past. We didn't need to think about that. But more and more, we see that security should be included. We must. It's now a requirement. There is no coming back. So for you that is finishing the course, for instance, we need to think about security. We need to include. And if your manager says that you should not, maybe you should raise a hand and say we need to think about security too. And when one thing that is important to let also and reflect about is that when we talk about cybersecurity, it comes for another level of way to think. One thing is information security. Another thing is network security. But when we come to cybersecurity, then it comes to all the systems that we are using. Everything. The cyber physical system that I showed to you, that is more maybe the closer of your reality, we should integrate security. We should integrate security, cybersecurity, in terms of how is this interaction between the virtual world and the real world. And these interactions make so many vulnerabilities to attacks to exploit. So it's very important, it's the future, and we need to change the way that also we are teaching the students in our universities, because we need to include this perspective that I'm saying from the beginning of these courses.
Can AI help in the analysis of sister trees? Can AI help in the analysis of cyber threats?
System threats, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we can use AI to analyze the threats. In the sense, I understand that you say in the sense to analyze the threats and maybe to protect the system based on the knowledge that we got from this analysis. Is that? We can, yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any regulation that obliges companies to guarantee the security of our information?
Some kind of regulation for companies to cybersecurity. In different countries, they are trying to put in place these regulations. I don't know how it is here in Mexico. In Brazil, we are starting to do that, so we are very late on that. We need to accelerate, we speed up, because the one problem that we have in general, all the countries, is that those products go to the market without any verification regarding to, or validation regarding to security. So they arrive at our home without anyone certifying that it is protected, is secure. And we need to create, as like engineers have for different products, to validate, to certify before going to the market. But there is no yet some concrete rules. What I see is some actions or some discussions going in that direction, but we have no concrete results yet.
Gracias. Aquí hay una pregunta más.
Hi. What are the basic security measures that users should have?
Insecure resources?
Yeah.
Well, everything that we have in computer and systems is vulnerable. Like processing, attackers can find a way to compromise. The way they have been implemented and developed also bring some flaws, some faults that can be exploited by those attackers. So I would not say one or two resources that are more vulnerable, but I would say that we have everything inside a computer or an electronic system could be compromised by. We cannot think about the mind, or we don't have all the map of the mind of the attackers. They are very creative, and they are sophisticating the way to compromise the system. So we are vulnerable. I think the main point that we should start is that we are totally vulnerable, and work from there. There is this semester I'm teaching a cybersecurity course in my university, and one paper that I put there is a very old paper. It's regarding to trust. So this paper got ACM prize in 80s something, and it says exactly that. In which can we trust? Can we trust in the software that was developed? If not, can we trust in the compiler that have compiled the software? No. So this is an ending discussion that in a certain point we need to say, okay, I will rely on that. This is my assumption, and I will work on security from this point. But though that part that is on the back is still vulnerable. We just rely, okay? But if someone finds some flaw there, nobody knows.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Good morning, Doctor. The hackers can get benefits of this research. what can the research can do to avoid this situation?
Yeah, the research will more technically in the sense of anticipating the steps of attack. I really believe in that approach, because the majority of what we have is the attack will happen now, and I will detect when it's happened. So this is no more the case. We need to advance and try to anticipate the mind of those attackers. This is the main point in terms of technical thing. And the research will advance steps in this sense to create solutions against what can happen to the market. So the research can contribute to the market with innovative and new solutions that can be ahead of things that will happen and will be helpful for all society, because these systems, our systems, will be each time more integrated from energy, from things that we do, and we need to rely on them. So I think in that sense, research will have this area can have a very potential to contribute to the society in general.
Thank you.
Bueno, solicitamos la presencia de la Secretaría de Extensión, la maestra Lilia Figueroa, y del coordinador de la maestría en Ingeniería Eléctrica y Electrónica, el doctor Luis Cisneros, para dar un presente a la doctora Nogueira.
Okay, doctora, congratulations. And here we are in representation of the principal of the school, Maestra Lilia. And to thanks the presentation, interesting topic, and congratulations.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
Sí, agradecerle a la doctora que está aquí con nosotros. Espero que no sea la última vez. Y un interesante tópico que nos acaba de mostrar. Gracias a todos por su presencia. Thank you, doctor.